My name is Leah Wilson-Felis, and this will be a short class or an hour class, so not quite, the 90 minutes that I would be in my personal practice, but an hour practice, and it will be based around really just self-appreciation and self-acceptance. The thing that I've found is that even though we all live in our different lives and there's this big world, the macrocosm, and then you can kind of tune it into your life, the microcosm, and see how you can relate to other people. What you are going through, everyone else is also going through in a different way. So although we might be feeling something different, we might be able to kind of realize that we can relate to everyone on this planet. And so today I want to offer you the mudra of the Ratna Prabha mudra. So Ratna means jewel, and Prabha means luster. So this is the gesture of the radiant jewel. So Ratna is jewel, and Prabha is radiance or luster or something shiny. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just interlace all of our fingers to the outside with the right thumb on top. Now we're going to extend the index finger and the middle fingers straight forward, joined along their length. So it's kind of like you're making a little 007 gun. You want to rest the wrists onto your upper abdomen with the fingers pointing outward. Yeah, so let those elbows kind of rest right along your ribs, maybe in that space between your ribs and your hip. The space between my rib and my hip is not very big, so kind of got to find that. And we're going to try to relax the shoulders back and down with the elbows held slightly away from the body to relax them. The spine naturally aligns here. So feel your tailbone, feel your sits bones ground down, kind of melt into the floor, feel heavy. And then from the bottom of your spine, feel the alignment lifting up through the crown of your head. So much like a hydraulic system, the pressure that allows us to push down into the floor must also rise up. It's that balanced opposition. And that's what we will try to find in many of our postures today. But for now, find that equalized pressure throughout your entire body, pushing down through your hips, your legs, any area that's touching the floor. So if your legs are straight, that's okay, however you want to sit, and feel the top half of your body lifting up. We'll start to bring just a little bit of your awareness into your breath. So maybe closing your eyes or just lowering them down to the ground or to the tip of your nose. We'll just start to breathe a little deeper, noticing where the energy, where that awareness is drawn in your body. For me, I feel this awareness right behind where my hands are, the solar plexus, right in the middle of the chest, right above the belly button and below the heart. This is the seat of the fire element within you. So a lot of energy comes from this place. And so as we breathe, imagine that little area of solar light, that fire right inside of your chest, your belly, is kind of glowing. And you can ignite that glow a little bit brighter with each breath. The Ratna Prabha mudra helps to build self-esteem. It helps us to instill a clear sense of purpose, why we're here together, along with the energy to manifest our vision of what we want in our life more clearly, more completely. So while we're talking about self-esteem and self-acceptance, I want you to let go of any ideas of how you believe that your practice will be today. How it should be. Each time we practice yoga, the experience will be different. Sometimes you might become energized. Sometimes you might be restored. Sometimes relaxed. Sometimes it's agitating. Remember, there's no right or no wrong, and no best, no better. Tend to your comfort during your practice. Adjust your position if you become uncomfortable. And remember that distraction is normal. It's a normal part of yoga, of life, of meditation. So if you find yourself distracted today, use it as a tool to remind yourself to come back to the breath. With that being said, if your hands or your arms are becoming tired or uncomfortable, let that become that cue to you to let go of whatever is causing discomfort in your body. Make a change. Let my words guide you today, and don't worry if you miss any of them. If you're not resonating with these chosen words, then be with the wisdom of your own experience. Our perfectionism is really metaphorical hunger for approval and validation and attention. And so we can feed our hungry ghost of perfectionism with the bread of acceptance. So in order to feel better about ourselves as sometimes perfectionists in our yoga practice, we have to really strive for approval and validation. And when we're doing that, we're seeking approval of other people instead of ourselves. So try not to seek approval or seek acceptance outside of yourself. The way that you believe of yourself is the most important. And there is a difference between self-esteem and self-acceptance. So self-esteem is conditional, and that we must meet certain conditions to determine our worth and value. And it's really based in self-comparison, evaluation, where we're comparing ourselves to the reality of who we are, to who we think we should be, and we also compare ourselves to others. So it's time to let go of that. As approval seekers, we want to know how we look in the mirror of our own mind and the minds of others. And it's really a value system of how we're being useful to others. And so self-acceptance, it opens us up to the reality of who we truly are, and it's unconditional. It's the once and for all decision that you are free to be who you were born to be, and you're doing the best that you can at every moment. So that's the difference between self-esteem and self-acceptance. Self-esteem is conditional. We have to meet these standards. Self-acceptance is unconditional. So that's what we want to strive for here. It doesn't matter to me how you look, how you feel, as long as you feel good in your yoga practice. So if you haven't already, let's release our hands. Bring the palms out in front of you, wiggle those fingers out. See if there's any heat in your hands. And we're going to create some movement with our upper body. So swing your arms out to the side, palms face up. And with an inhale, sweep your hands all the way up overhead. Fingers will touch. Hands come together. Exhale down through the heart, pushing your hands together actively, rolling off the fingertips and sweeping the hands back out. Inhale up overhead when you're ready to inhale again. And when you're ready to exhale, down through the center line. Nice. Inhaling up again. Last time, sweeping out and up with the inhale. Sweeping down, pressing in through the hands as you come through center line. Hands will reach out to the sides. Oh, Right, so from here, ground those fingertips. If your legs are feeling a little bit sore, you might just change them. So maybe extend your legs out, maybe just crisscross them the other way. So that's of course up to you. We're going to move into our neck and move down through the body, one stretch for each area of the body. So start by gently rocking your head to the right. Keep those left fingertips grounded into the floor. Take that big conscious breath, breathing in, breathing out. And we'll come back to center and try it on the other side. So anchoring through the right fingertips and leaning the head slightly to the left. When I do that, my thumb starts to get a little tingly, so I'm going to back up just a little bit so it's not so much tension there, choking off that nerve. Let's bring it back to center. One more to each direction, so rocking your head to the right, left fingertips grounded. If you'd like to add a little bit more to that stretch, variate it. Swing your right hand up over your head so that it lands right above your left ear. And start to draw a little further, or tuck your chin towards your collarbone so that the back of your neck opens. While you're here, we're going to do some active release. Shrug your shoulder up to your ear, roll it back and down. Shoulder rolls, just a couple of those while your neck is stretching. Of course, if it causes something really painful or intense, don't do that. Change it, make it smaller. Go the other way too. And we'll release that side, bringing the right hand back to the floor, dropping chin to chest or bringing the head to neutral, and then rocking the head to the left. If you'd like to add more stretch or variate the stretch a little bit, we'll swing that left arm out and up overhead for our right ear, creating length through that whole right side of the neck. And again, change it if you need to by tucking the chin to the chest, feeling the back of the neck start to lengthen. Breathing a little deeper here, sending some breath to that area. And remembering that we just are where we are in our practice today. We'll release the hand, either bringing the head back to neutral or rolling the head down. We'll meet with our chin to chest. Bring your head slowly back to neutral and feel free to kind of wiggle it out a little bit, maybe some gentle neck circles just to see if there's any residual tension in there and if there's something that you need to spend a little extra time on. So feel free to take a couple moments kind of just assessing the neck, testing it out, see how it's feeling. I still have a little tiny spot on the back of my right shoulder in that upper trapezius muscle where it kind of meets my neck to my shoulder. So maybe later I will take a little tennis ball and do some self-massage in there. Let's move along into the actual shoulder. So again, if you need to switch your legs, do that. We're going to drop the right hand and slide it out to the side. Make sure your left sit bone stays grounded, so you don't want that left hip to peel up. Left hand sweeps out, up, maybe even overhead, over towards the right. And you can see my head just wants to drop to my right shoulder. So instead, I'm going to relax through the right shoulder. And feel that left side of the body stretch a lot. Keep breathing, so try not to hold the breath. And remember, we just are where we are, so wherever you start to feel that tension stretch, let it be there. Let yourself just rest there and breathe. With an inhale, fan your way back up to center. Ground yourself. If you need to switch your legs, you can. Slide your left hand all the way out as far as you can so that the right hip is still grounded, and then we'll follow that movement with the right arm. If you still need more room, you can bend into that left elbow. But if that's a little bit too much, you might keep that left elbow lengthened, keep the tension there. So see what you need, see what you feel. Play with it a little bit. Now with an inhale, Swing that right hand up and pull yourself back to center. We're going to add a twist. So let's lengthen these legs out, give the knees a break. Take your left hand and bring it to the outside of your right leg. It could be your knee or your thigh. It could be that you tent your fingertips down kind of on the mat, on the outside of the mat. So it's whatever you'd like to reach there. The right hand slides to the back of the mat. Inhale, sit up tall. Relax the shoulders. And we'll start to twist a little bit here, looking over the back right shoulder if it feels okay. One more deep breath. Lift up with the in-breath. Relax into the twist with the out-breath. Beautiful. Start to rotate back to center. Other side. Right hand to the outside of the left knee, the thigh, or tented on the outside of the mat. Left hand slides, rotates to the back of the mat there. We'll inhale to sit up tall. And exhale to add a twist, looking over the shoulder if it feels okay. 2 more breaths, just exploring that twist. Playing with the head a little maybe. And we'll start to unwind back to center. All right, we're moving into the low back. Inhale and sweep your hands out and up overhead. Fingers touch. And then we'll begin to round over a big ball, reaching your hands for your shins, your knees, your ankles, your toes. If you have a strap handy, you can always use that strap. You're going to be feeling this maybe in your hamstrings as well, which is behind your legs. There's this connective tissue in the body called fascia, and it's like this 3D matrix. It's like this big sack basically that holds all of our muscles together and our organs together. And so that is why you feel it here in your legs, but you might also be affecting your back because your legs and your back are directly connected through fascia, through connective tissue. So let's start to round our back and roll our way back up to center, seated. We'll bring the soles of our feet together, moving into the hips. So feet together, knees apart. If you're feeling something on the inner thighs, then you know you're feeling muscle tension. So muscle tension means that, you have some tight muscles in here. If you're feeling it on the outside of your legs, it might be that you're feeling compression, which means bone on bone, especially if your knees are all the way to the floor. There's no way to go further than that. So in order to feel something in the tension area, we just have to kind of lean into it, lean forward slightly. And that should start to open up the inner thighs and allow them to feel a stretch. But remember, there's a big difference between a tension stretch and a painful stretch. So painful stretch, of course, feels painful, and you go into fight or flight, and your nervous system says, get out, and start breathing heavier. And when we're in this relaxed state, then our parasympathetic nervous system is indulged. You might feel your belly grumble. You might start to relax a little deeper into the postures, and that's where we want to be in yoga. We don't want to take ourselves to that fight or flight, that sympathetic. Stay relaxed. Try not to find pain, just feeling a stretch. Feel free to explore, playing with the posture, starting to rock to the right and left if that feels good. If it doesn't feel good, your body might just be saying, not today, and that's okay, maybe next time. Great work. Come on back up to center. We'll extend our right leg out. Left knee might stay bent if it feels okay. And then what we'll do is take that big inhale up to the sky, working down into the hips and legs, folding forward to reach for that right toe, right ankle, knee, shin, wherever you are here. Nice work. Bow your head down towards your knee, towards your straight leg. And start to rock maybe to the left and to the right, starting with your torso being that heavy pull from side to side. But also noticing how this affects your back and your hamstring, the back side of your leg. Great work. We'll start to roll back up to center, and we're just going to switch sides. So extend your left leg out, bend your right knee. Now if your right knee doesn't like that, you can of course support it with a block or a blanket, or you can just kind of send it out of the way and forget about it, and we're going to focus on the left side. So again, sweep the hands up to the sky. That's going to bring length into the upper body, and then we're just going to fold right over top that left leg, bowing the forehead down, relax the shoulders. Maybe your hands are more at your shin or your knee, or you're using a strap here. Now if your mind becomes agitated here, it might get a little angry at this posture if it's a little too much, feel any kind of frustration. The best thing to do is breathe and move. Create movement in your upper body, swaying from side to side, shifting the sensation from place to place. That way the nervous system doesn't get overloaded with that sensation. All those receptors are telling your brain that these muscles are tight. Holding it in one spot might be a little bit too much for the mind. We'll start to bring ourselves back up, rounding back up. Nice work. Now we'll extend both legs back out. So I'm going to turn this way here. We want our feet to be separated. We'll sweep the hands up overhead. And this time with a straight back. So last time we rounded over, this time we're going to try to keep it straight. So lean your belly towards your thighs. That's about as far as I can go, and I can already feel my hamstrings here. So then I'm just going to drop my hands down. See how my back is still straight. It's not rounding over like last time. We want to keep it lengthened. Keep your shoulders down. Keep your toes lifted. You might even feel that into your calf muscles. And then we'll go the other way, just rounding. So round over, so it's like a mad cat. Let's inhale and come back to straighten back. And exhale, rounding over. Last time here. And we'll start to come back up to seated. We're going to start to transition onto hands and knees, tabletop pose. So I just swing my legs around and start to come up. Now if you have a blanket handy, you might use that blanket as a little cushion under your knees. I have some students who use a like actual gardening foam mat, so you could use one of those. In some of my community classes, I've had some carpet samples. Carpet samples work too. So let's bring our palms down onto the floor. You want to feel this through the mounds of the knuckles. That's the undersides of your knuckles, or the mounds of the knuckles. And so we want to feel that area of your palms pressing into the floor. And we're going to start some really simple cats and cows to begin. So as you inhale, let's drop into cow. Belly falls, arms are straight, heart reaches forward, we lift the head and the tailbone. As we exhale, we're going to do just the opposite. So we're making the horseshoe shape with the head and the tailbone going down. Inhale, lift into cow. Exhale, drop the head, lift the back into cat. One more, just simple cat and cow. Alright, so next up we're going to add something onto that. So we're going to round up into cat pose and then rock the ribs and the hips from right to left. So you're doing a dog wag with cat pose. And then we'll come back to center, drop into cow. So your arms stay lengthened. You just kind of drop through and reach your heart forward. Same thing, we're going to just rock the hips and the ribs from right to left. Nice. Come back to center, round up through the spine. Bring yourself almost back to child's pose. I have very little weight on my hands as I do that, so I can lift my hands, but I want to keep them grounded because now I'm going to bend through my elbows, roll the heart through into a big cow pose. From here, round your back a lot. Bring your hips back towards your heels. Take a lot of weight off your hands. Now we're going to put a lot of weight on the hands. Bend your elbows. Roll through. Push up at the end, cow. Round your back to cat. Bring your tailbone almost back to your heels. Maybe you do come into child's pose for a moment. Bend through your elbows. Maybe they meet the mat. Roll through and a big push up. Your arms are going to get really strong. We're in cow pose. Last time trying that. Round the spine up, cat. Take the sits bones almost back to your heels. Bend through your elbows. Start to slither through. At the end, your elbows pick up and you push through the palms. Cow. And we'll come back to center. We're going to come back to child's pose. Take a little break, let your arms rest. So if child's pose is not a pose that works for you, try extended puppy. With puppy pose, your hips stay lifted as your head and your chest melt. You can take the weight off of your hands in both of those poses, both puppy pose and child's pose. So puppy pose is traditionally Anaharasana. Child's pose, traditionally Balasana. Whichever pose you're in, rock your ribs to the left and to the right, shifting through the hips a little bit. Doesn't matter if your arms are outstretched overhead or tucked back to your knees, whatever works for you. And we'll start to peel ourselves back up to tabletop. We're going to add on to what we did before. So stack yourself up in that tabletop. We're going to tuck our toes. Start to press up through the tailbone. Remember, your knees don't have to go straight, so your knees can stay soft. We want to feel our tailbone pulling us back, almost like that child's pose. Soften the knees a lot, lift your heels. Now we're going to roll up through our spine. So lengthen your legs, roll up to your shoulder blades. So I'm puffing through my shoulder blades here in cat pose, downward dog, and I'm going to come into plank. I'm going to walk my hands forward a little bit for plank. Drop to the knees. Lower yourself down, so I untuck my toes and bring my belly down to the mat. We're going to take our hands and tent the fingertips and bring them out off the edges of the mat with the elbows lifting up. Both of them, both sides. It's called grasshopper pose. So from here we want to lift the elbows up. If there's any pain there, of course, back it up a little bit. And then if you want, you can start to push through your fingers. Peel yourself up off the ground. Peel your heart up. Keep your pelvis grounded. Protect your back. We'll start to fold and roll back down. So you know that solar plexus spot between your belly button and your heart center. We want to keep that grounded if possible. With an inhale, peel just your chest, just your heart up. The bottom of the ribs stays grounded, and we'll roll back down. Slide the hands back to that original position, like cobra, with your hands under your shoulders. We'll tuck our toes, lift up to just hands and knees. Remember, we're going to come into cat pose and come all the way back almost to child's pose. Tuck your toes here. Start to lift your knees into downward facing dog. Looking back at those toes. Pedal it out a couple times. We're going to practice that again. Roll up to your tippy toes. Let the energy roll all the way through your spine to your shoulder blades to plank. Drop to your knees if you like. Lowering yourself down, unhooking your toes, thighs, belly, chest, rolling to the mat. Slide the fingertips out, tenting the fingers, lifting the elbows, and with your next inhale, peel just your head and your heart up off the ground. Feel the pelvis pressing down. Exhale, lowering back down, sliding the hands back underneath the shoulders. Tuck your toes. Start to roll back up to hands and knees. All the way back to your almost child's pose. And exhale, downward facing dog. Nice, pedal it out, excuse me. So press your left heel down, press your right heel down, back and forth. Awesome. This time, we're going to start to look towards our hands and tippy-toe forward. So you could walk forward, maybe over your blanket. Maybe you need to walk your hands back towards your feet so that you end up in a forward fold. We want our knees to be softened here, and we want our feet to be separated. So make sure your feet are farther apart. You don't want your toes to be touching or your inner ankle bones. Let's try to let go with our head. Shake your head yes. Shake your head no. And come back to center and just kind of hang here. Maybe you soften your knees a little bit more like you're going to squat down in a chair. Grasp onto opposite elbows and let the elbows be the weight. Let yourself just hang. If you take a look up, I'm not sure if you can even see me, but my belly is actually resting on my thighs. So the deeper I get into that squat, the more I'm stretching the low back. From here, we're going to just swing the arms forward, start to sit into that chair, and pull ourselves all the way up. Take your time. And let's come to standing with the hands at heart center. It's known as samastiti. Same stance. So we want to make sure the same amount of weight is in both feet. Shoulders are back. The head is stacked over the spine. Let's take a couple conscious breaths here, tuning our awareness in right now, right here, this moment. Remember that the only comparison that we do in yoga is the comparison to when we began the practice today to this moment now, and the different feelings we might be experiencing. It could be sensations in your body. It could also be thoughts or feelings in the mind. So anything that is not of self-love, self-acceptance, needs to just be let out, let go. So let's take a deep breath here. Breathe in. And with an open mouth, let it go. Let's do that again. Let's release our hands down to the side body. I'm gonna turn towards the camera so you can see what I'm doing with my lower body. You might not be able to see my head. I'm gonna grab my blanket and bring it to the side real fast, and we're gonna be doing a somatic movement. So soma means body. And when we are doing somatic movements, we are linking the brain with the body. So every time we do it, our brain says, oh, I remember that from the last time you did that. So this one we're going to start really simple. Remember that it's just you maybe at your house, maybe you and someone else, and here I'm doing this in front of lots of people. So don't worry about how it looks. Might feel a little silly at first. But what we're going to do is do a curtsy. So we're going to take our right leg and we're going to start to swing it behind the left. And then we're going to pretend like we have a dress and curtsy. I know, guys, it's hard. We're going to take that right leg back out. My arms are teed out to the side. Just the right elbow is going to cinch down, and I'm going to try to lift the right knee. Yeah. So eventually they will touch. eventually. So let's try that again. We're going to take that right leg, bring it behind, curtsy, bring it back out to the side, crunch. Nice. Try it again. Curtsy, tap, crunch. Now I can see some of you already getting more smooth with that. So keep doing this with the steps. The curtsy, the tap, the crunch, the tap. Yeah. If you're like, I could go faster, then you can curtsy, skip the tap, crunch. Curtsy, skip the tap, crunch. See, I know that's a lot harder, so that comes with time. So the tap is a good beginning spot. All right, so let's release the arms. Whew, they get sore. They're getting strong by holding them out to the side. All right, let's do it on the other side. So first, let your arms just hang. We'll get the legs down. So we're going to take that left leg, bring it behind the right, a little curtsy. And we'll bring this out to the side, tap, and lift. The arms don't do much. The only thing is that left elbow, like, heck yeah. So we'll take that left leg behind, curtsy, bring it back out, tap, crunch. Nice. So get that movement down, curtsy, tap, crunch, tap. Every time I do that, I feel something kind of shifting in my hip. So to me, that's an indication that something might be tight in there, and I need to stretch my hip out a little bit more. Now, if you want to try to smooth that out, it's the curtsy and the crunch, and the curtsy and the crunch. Nice. I see it. It's happening. And when you're done, just release. Let your arms be heavy. Nice work. We'll try that again some other time, and that will allow us to see if our brain remembers. So if you have turned to the side like me, and you're now long ways, let's turn to the top of our yoga mat. Walk up to the top of it. Take a big inhale. Sweep your hands up overhead. Fingers will touch. Exhale through heart center. Palms come through the heart, actively pressing together. Down to the sides. Back out, up, overhead. Run into the wall over there. Hands to heart center. As you do this, bend through your knees. Sit down a little bit, and then start to reach your hands down, draping yourself over your legs. So you're in like a squat here. We're going to practice one leg lengthening at a time. So my right leg's going to go first. As I inhale, I lengthen just the right leg. As I exhale, I come back to that kind of half-seated pose. And then the other side, inhale, left leg lengthens. And exhale, half-seated. One more on each side. Inhale, right leg. Exhale, soften. Inhale, left leg. Exhale, soften. All right, so from here, we're going to take our right leg and we're going to slide it back. Just slide it back. You want your foot to be flat. So if your heel is lifted, you might be too far back and you might need to walk it forward. Now, this is getting difficult for me to reach the floor. I could use my blanket to bring my mat or the ground up to me, or if you happen to have a yoga block handy, then you could bring that into play also. So my legs are in a pose called pyramid pose. They look like a pyramid, but they are on separate lanes, so I'm not on a tightrope, so you want to make sure that your legs are hip distance apart. Nice work. From here, we're going to do something a little bit difficult. We're going to try to step up onto our front left foot. My right foot lifts up off the ground, and I'm in an assisted balance. Let your chin drop to your chest if that's possible. Might take you off balance just a little bit. And we're going to send that right foot that's up in the air back towards the back of the mat. All right, hands either in the block or to the mat. We're going to slide the left foot that's in front back to meet the right for downward facing dog. Pedal it out a little bit, and it might feel a little bit uneven because we've really activated the left leg, stretched out the right leg. So eventually we'll have to do all of that on the other side. Let's release down to hands and knees. Untuck the toes. Round up into that kind of mad cat position. Send the heels, or the hips, back for the heels, almost to child's pose. Bend through the elbows, roll your way forward, just like we did at the beginning. Push through your hands, cow pose. Come back to neutral, tabletop. Tuck the toes, roll up, downward dog. Start to tippy toe or walk your feet forward. Maybe your hands have to walk back, and that's okay. You want to end up in this forward fold. Bend those knees. Sweep the arms out, up, overhead, like you're sitting in a chair, and then lengthen all the way up. Maybe add a little miniature back bend. Back to heart center with the hands. We'll take a couple breaths. We'll do that standing sequence on the left side. And then we'll bring ourselves back to the ground to relax a little bit. So, inhale, hands reach up overhead. Exhale to heart center. All the way down through the belly button. The fingertips roll off of each other and then out to the sides as you inhale up overhead one more time. Exhale just to heart center. Soften the knees like you're sitting in a chair. Start to reach your hands forward and dive over your bent knees. Nice. This pose, this half chair, really helps to spread the lower back. All right, so from here we're going to take our left foot and we're going to slide it or step it back. Pyramid pose. So now your right foot's in front and your left foot's in back. Both feet are facing straight ahead, but they are on separate lanes, so you don't want your feet to be on that tightrope. Remember, if you have a block handy, to maybe bring that into play so that the ground is raised up to you. We're just going to start to work on that stretch in that right hamstring there. And eventually, in another breath or two, we're going to be moving our way to a warrior 3, which is a balance on the right foot. So I send my block a little bit more forward, so I shove it forward a little bit, reach with my fingertips, and send my weight forward. So I'm rolling off of my left foot, picking my left foot up off the ground, and helping myself with my fingertips to balance on the right foot. If you have good balance, you can of course lift your hands away from the floor, but make sure to, keep that block handy just in case. One more big breath here. I know that one can be hard. We're building a lot of strength. We're going to step that left foot back down towards the back of the mat. Awesome work. All right. So let's bend through that knee. That right knee, your front leg. Bring your fingertips down to the mat and start to slide that right foot back to downward dog to meet the left, and we'll pedal it out a couple times. Now on the right side we did the lower version. On this left side we're going to do the higher version. That means we're going to roll up to our tippy toes, feel the energy come through our calves, through our hips, round through your shoulders. Pull yourself forward into plank. Adjust your hands if you need to. Drop to your knees. Untuck your toes, and we'll lower ourselves down to the floor. Sweep the fingertips out off the mat. Tent those fingertips. Lift through your elbows, and with an inhale, peel just your heart up. The solar plexus stays grounded. Lower down with the exhale. Slide your hands back into center. And we'll start to press up to tabletop. Sliding all the way back to child's pose, or extended puppy is always that nice alternate option. Whichever pose you choose to come to, try to get that forehead to the mat. If it doesn't reach, stack your hands or stack fists and let your forehead rest there, or perhaps even just using a yoga block or a blanket to rest your forehead on. While we take this moment of stillness, this moment of silence in our body, start to tune in to whatever those sensations are that you might be feeling. With every exhale, give yourself that permission to just relax. Folding your belly into your thighs. Nice work, everyone. Extend your arms back out overhead. We'll start to roll back up to our tabletop. Add a little rock from left to right through the hips there, and that'll start to open up the sacrum or the lower spine. We'll start to walk our knees forward towards our hands. Let the toes or the knees drop out to the side so that you can drop down onto a hip, and we'll swing our legs around, coming back to seated. So seated, we want to be with our feet flat, our knees bent, seated on the tailbone. Of course, you can support yourself like this if you need to. But we're going to give ourselves a little bit of core work before we lower down. So it's just like lowering down with core work. So I'm going to try to lift myself up so it's not quite boat pose. Boat pose would be with my feet lifted. So I'm still grounded through the feet. This is a really moderate variation. And I'm going to try to lower down through my whole back. So I'm going sacrum first. That's that like curved bone that is in your butt. And then we'll roll back into the lumbar, through all the ribs, and then the head is the back last thing. You can reach your hands up overhead if you want to, and then start to lengthen your legs out so that you're stretching your toes down and stretching your hands and head up. Imagining that you're lengthening from your toes to your knees, from your knees to your hips. That space between your hip, your pelvis, and your ribs is just lengthening. There's more space. Each rib separating a little bit. Armpits lengthening, neck lengthening. Let's release our arms down to the sides of our body. And I'm going to have you start just kind of rocking the toes like you're window wiping the toes. Bend your knees so that your feet come flat onto the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together so that they create a little platform for you to rest on. And you want to feel like your collarbones are separating, drawing those shoulder blades back. As my friend Cole Chance says, feel the collarbones smiling. And we'll let our hands come down to the sides of our body. Begin to push into your feet, rolling up into a bridge, Setu Bandhasana, activating the glutes and the quads on top of the thigh. And then we'll lower back down, dropping through the spine, back to the tailbone. And we'll try that again. Push through the feet, activate the butt, the thighs, the legs, the core. Squeeze your shoulder blades back. And lower back down, exhaling perhaps. And we'll do that one final time, lifting through the hips, pushing through the feet, maybe even reaching your fingertips up towards the ceiling or over your head, and lowering back down. We'll stretch out those hips one last time, picking up the right foot, crossing the outer ankle over top the left thigh for a figure four. Needle of the eye, or eye of the needle, I'm sorry. There's lots of different names for this. It could be called lying pigeon. So if you're already feeling a stretch in your right hip, you might just stay exactly here. If you'd like to change it, you can always pick your left foot up off the ground, and that's going to activate something in the outer right hip. Some people like to grab onto their left thigh, or even over top their left shin if that's available. Some people like to lengthen their left leg up to the sky, toes to the ceiling. So it's really up to you. Explore all of your options and see which one works the best for you. Alrighty, we'll start to bend that left knee, bring it back down to the ground so that your foot is flat. Unhook the right leg and do it all on the left, bringing your left outer ankle over top of your right thigh and knee. Of course, you're welcome to stay right there. You're welcome to just kind of rock the hips and knees. If you need something extra, pull the legs closer to your torso by lifting your right foot up off the ground. Explore your options and see what works for you. And whenever you are ready, start to release your right foot back down to the floor, back to the mat, unhooking your left leg. You're welcome to add any last positions you might need here. If you're feeling a little tension in your back, you might window wipe your knees, just rocking them from side to side. Maybe add a nice spinal twist, looking to the right as your legs go to the left, vice versa. Perhaps you need a little hug, so pulling your knees to your chest is always a great option. And I'll suggest here that we find our last position of Shavasana or some variation of Shavasana. Shavasana is just laying on the ground with your feet separated, toes heavy so that the pinky or outer edges of your feet are heavy and just kind of flopping open. Letting your hands, again, be at a 45-degree out away from your body or resting on your belly or heart. You can come back to your mudra if you want to, interlacing the fingers so that the right thumb is on top. Could be the awkward thumb. Then your index finger and middle finger extend up to the ceiling. Middle finger, is extended, yes, and then ring finger and little finger are still interlaced. And you're going to let the elbows just rest on either side of the body so that the fingertips are pointing from your solar plexus up to the ceiling. We'll take a couple breaths as we just rest in whichever posture feels best for you. If there's some sort of tension that's being created in your lower back by laying flat on the floor, then I invite you to try using a rolled up blanket or a pillow underneath your knees so that they have a little bit of bend. And that will help to honor the lumbar curvature of the back. As we lay, start to bring your awareness back to the gentle breath moving in and out. Notice any tension in your jaw, in your shoulder blades. Let them rest back on the mat. Your elbows, the backs of your arms just heavy. Check in with your hips and glutes, your knees and your ankles, your toes. Allowing each area that I mentioned to be heavy and relaxed. Keep in mind that yoga is not always about doing, it's about undoing. It's about allowing. And sometimes just being. Allowing yourself to just be. Remember that self-acceptance opens us up to the reality of who we truly are at any given moment. Self-love is unconditional. It is the once and for all decision that you are who you are, and you are who you were born to be. And you are doing the best that you can at any given time. It is the recognition that you are unconditionally worthy and valuable, even if you're not valued, even if you're not in service or pleasing others. You are the path, resource, support, and companion to your own well-being from moment to moment. You are at your own service. Notice how you are resting, open to the sensations of your body. Allow yourself to notice your reality as it is in this moment. There is no right or wrong. There is no best or better. This is it. This is the beginning of self-love. Take a big breath right here. You're welcome to just stay right here on your back as long as you need. Start to bring awareness into your physical body and make the decision of which side you would like to roll to start making your way back up. Roll to that side, perhaps supporting your head with a coiled arm. Adjusting however you need to here. Take a moment and just have gratitude for this body in the position of the unborn, this fetal position. It just allows us to have gratitude for this body, for our fascia, for our connective tissue, our muscles and bones that allow us to move. We'll start to make our way up, if you haven't already, back up to seated. And if you have an open wall behind you, you can certainly scooch back and support yourself with that wall. Give yourself a moment to come back to center, come back to seated where we began an hour ago. Take a big breath here, noticing this moment, how everything feels. Maybe adding some movement to the neck, the shoulders, the ribs. My hope is that you feel better physically than you did an hour ago. Maybe even yoga created a distraction for whatever it might be that you're going through in an emotional or mental capacity. Know that at some point in our life, we're all experiencing something similar. We can relate. You're not alone. Feel free to reach out at any time. I thank each of you for being here today, for rolling out your mat today, for jumping into your practice today, for feeling your body today. I bow to each of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for letting your breath be your guide, for me being your guide. Namaste, my friends. Have a great day. And shukriya means thank you in Sanskrit.